Once again, thank God, we're happy to be here for a public menorah lighting in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Yeah, I'm grateful to be in this part of the country. I'm grateful I'm not on a college campus. I'm grateful I'm not in a major city. I got myself over here, thank God, with God's help for reasons. My father, his friend said, and this is after things started getting violent in the Southwest and I had to get out of there. He said, if you stay in the part of the country with the believing Christians, you should be comparatively safe. So I did. And then I watched things evolve according to what my spiritual teacher said, some Jewish, a lot of them not Jewish, and they were right. I met a lot of nice people. I met people who need praying for also, but everybody needs praying for. But I met some quite wonderful people, and it's good to be among people of faith. In this part of the country, people say to you, have a blessed day, and they mean it. And you can say, have a blessed day, and they don't bite your head off. Right. We love it this way. All right, and one of my colleagues, way back in Oklahoma City, about 10 years ago, we were talking, and he said, yeah, we like it when the Christians are really Christian. People who believe in something. All right, they know there's a God, and that it isn't all arbitrary, and that one set of behaviors is not just as good as any other set of behaviors. It's not all relative. Some things are right. Some things you've got to do. Some things you do because there's a God and he commanded you to do them. Not just because it seemed like it might be a good idea at the time. So, why do we have public menorah lightings? When did this get started? It used to be dangerous to be Jewish. Sometimes it still is. I mean, I look at the news and it's, well, I'm glad I'm in local Oklahoma. Gee, I'm glad I'm in Guthrie. They did what, where? Wow. Oh no, we got to pray about that. We got to say something. But way, way back in the day, it used to be, first there was Nimrod, then there was the Seleucid Greeks. After Alexander the Great, the empire split. And then there was the dictator Antiochus Epiphanes. Epiphanes means the God made manifest. So this person he fits the profile on narcissistic personality disorder, okay? He thinks he's the God made manifest, and he decides no more Jewish practice. They're not allowed to worship God. They're going to take over the temple. They're going to put pagan deities in there and make Jewish people not do the things that we have a covenant. Footnote on covenant. I'm happy that their former bishop, Doug, showed me where the president of Yeshiva University, the big flagship Orthodox seminary for the men, came and spoke at BYU. The head of YU spoke at BYU, Brigham Young University, about what it meant to be covenant people, which distinguishes us from large parts of the country where they don't believe we're under any covenant. Everyone does what they feel like and they sort it out. All right. What it means to be under a covenant. You have a commitment. There's a God. He commanded you to do it. He commanded you to do the right thing. Not like before, way back before there were laws. This was in what's now Iraq. This was in Mesopotamia. Hammurabi. There were all these warlords. Finally, Hammurabi and his group of warlords beat up the other warlords, and he said, from now on, we're going to have laws. They had laws. That's how, sometime later, Jewish laws got structured as laws. You do this, you don't do that, and in case of something, you do the other thing. And the laws with the temple are set in certain ways, and there are laws making sure, try not to hurt people, try not to hurt animals, try to do the right thing, and in case you goofed, there are things you do, you have to go and you make amends. Okay, the Greeks come in and they say, we want everybody to be under, effectively, this humanist rule of law, and we're going to eradicate Jewish practice. You can't circumcise your kid. People had to circumcise their kid. That's the sign of the covenant, that they're under a covenant. They said you can't. All right, so this is a huge empire, and yet the high priest, Mattathias, and he had 10 sons: Eliezer, eldest son; Simon, John, Jonathan, Judah Maccabee. They rebelled. They did guerrilla warfare. It took them 3 years, from 168 before the Common Era, before the year 0, to 165. Finally, they drove the Seleucid Greeks out, and they came in, and the place had been so completely desecrated. Think the kinds of parties they have in San Francisco. I'm not going to get into details. They were doing on that temple, right the holiest of holy places. And they couldn't do the Jewish festival holiday in the fall, where it's got 8 days. They were looking around for a little cruse of oil to light the temple menorah. This is the Hanukkah menorah. The temple menorah only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one in the middle. This is the one for Hanukkah. They could only find one for one night that hadn't been desecrated. And they lit it, thinking it would only last one night. But it went on, and on, and on, and it lasted 8 nights. And that's a miracle story, so people in rationalist times, they tend to want to dismiss it. But one of my teachers in Los Angeles, Rabbi Jonathan Omerman, may he rest in peace, he said, this is the real heart of Hanukkah. There comes a point, the human spirit, and you've been so trampled, so degraded, you think you cannot go on. When I was in high school, and I was in high school under Governor George Wallace, we got bussed in, myself, my sister, an Italian kid, and every black person in Auburn, Alabama. We all got bussed in. People said the kinds of things you think, do you even hear yourself? They said those kinds of things. And I was in high school, my last year of high school, and I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And at the point where he's describing how his great-great-grandmother Ellen got conceived, in what position, by being raped by whom, I thought, God, no. Not you guys too. But this is it. My mother told me all about what went on in Europe, and how if you were a Jew in Europe, if you saw a police officer, you ran. In this country, she said with pride, even a Jew could be a police officer. Good deal. And 2 years later, there was Bloody Sunday. My mother, and she was darker than I am, and she had more pronounced sub-Saharan African features, okay? The newspaper dangling from one hand, the finger pointing to the picture of these black kids being set upon with police officers and German shepherds. It was about the most upset I think I'd ever seen her. What we learned post-Holocaust is you can't not say something. Don't be like the, quote, good Germans, that it was none of their business and they said nothing. You have to say something. So Jewish people went down there and marched with MLK. Some of them got shot. I don't think the Freeman family is ever going to be the same. We're not going to be the same, but we couldn't not go down there. Now what's going on? They said it would be like this. And we did a lot of interfaith work starting 1971. My mother took us to, I think it was Forest Hills Baptist Church in Indiana. We went to a lot of churches. Sometimes I'm surprised how much New Testament I can remember. And in the last few years, I think if it hadn't been for one person, 1 or 2 people, making the spiritual core of Judaism available to all of the nations of the earth, how would all of these people have absorbed so much Torah? But they did. They absorbed a lot of Torah. They absorbed a lot of what God brought down on Mount Sinai. And the way this country was formed, with freedom of religion being so important, it had to do with that got brought down. I'm proud to be an American. I look in the paper and, oh my, sometimes I don't look in the paper. I open the computer and I see what's coming in on the news feed. Sometimes I read the highlights. Sometimes I don't want to read the article. Sometimes I can see, Yeah, they said it would be like this. And the people I'm with, I report directly into Rabbi Chaim Peel in New York, who is out of Chabad Lubavitch, which is the largest growing Jewish movement in Judaism. It's Orthodox, and I report into him. And we're very clear that we are in the end times. I'm very comforted to be among people who know we're in the end times and the way things are evolving. Well, they said it would be like this, and here we are. Nonetheless, you see somebody having a hard time, you got to help them. You got to stay prayed up, and you've got to help people. Even a kind word, even a smile. Say something, just do something. Try to find resources. So when did they start having these publicly? Because in Europe, well, the question was, do we put it in our window, or are we setting ourselves up for, God forbid, getting killed? And the answer was, we're going to put it in the window. Nowadays, there have been questions like, no, I'm putting this in the window. In 1979, President Jimmy Carter started the first of these public menorah lightings. And the point is not, we don't, God forbid, try to convert. We don't want everyone to be Jewish. I think about that occasionally when somebody is afraid I'm going to. It's like, why? There wouldn't be any trees left. Yes, there would. We'd go out and nicely plant more trees, but then everyone would be writing books, and then somebody would have to write a newspaper article refuting the book. And then, no, we don't want everyone to be Jewish. We don't believe you have to be Jewish to be saved. You have to do certain things, and it has to do with common decency and worshiping one God. We believe people should worship one God. And you can't murder people. You have to set up courts of law, not go to Fist City, things like that. They started this in 1979, and the point is to remind people about spreading the light. That little cruse of oil, even when people feel like the human spirit feels it cannot go on, there just isn't enough, like they feel like roadkill. There's just no more to go on. It's about the ability of the human spirit to renew itself from a source beyond itself. And then we go on, we get up, we take another step forward, we move forward, and now we're still here. It lasted 8 nights. We're still here. I gotta go see Aunt Doa. I miss her. There were 2 schools of thought. There were 2 major schools in Judaism. I may as well tell you about them now. There was the school of Shammai, and he tends to be much more strict. There's the school of Hillel, and he tends to be more relaxed and very concerned that we do things in a way that people will be able to do them, and there's a kindness about it. When I taught at Langston, and we get around to the part with 17th century and King James and all of that, and I explain, okay, here's King James, and here's Rabbi Jesus, and here is how he rules. Usually Rabbi Jesus rules with the school of Hillel. Yes, of course, you call up on the phone to the Hatzolah, the ambulance service, if the woman's starting to give birth, or somebody is, God forbid, bleeding out or something, and you get them to the emergency room, because the saving of a life takes precedence over the Sabbath. It takes precedence over most things. And then you fast next Monday or something. The school of Hillel was much more strict. And after debating it through, Jewish law generally sides with the school of Hillel. With the exception, Rabbi Jesus' school sides with the school of Shammai on divorce. Didn't want this stuff where people come in, they're the visiting whatnot, they marry somebody within a couple of weeks, on their way out of town after a year, they divorce them, they go to the next town, they do the same thing. That had to stop. And this is it. We end up with Jewish law, and it's supposed to be about kindness, it's supposed to be about love, and you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, not just your Jewish neighbor, all your neighbors, and make sure, has everybody got enough of what they need? Okay, the school of Shammai started with 8 lights and then went to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the school of Hillel started with 1, and the lights increased. That's the way we did it. That's what finally came down, how the custom got settled. You start with one, and you increase the light in the world, and you remember, help other people to increase the light in the world. Be sure to increase the light in the world. You increase the light in the world, and in the place where nobody else is being a decent human being, you be a decent human being. That's from the Talmud. Okay, any questions? Questions are good. That was one of the best things I taught my Navajo students. Questions are good. Late one night, somebody took me aside and explained why they're so reluctant to ask questions and what had happened. Okay, I suppose at my age and knowing what went on in Europe and every place else, I shouldn't be surprised, but that kind of inhumanity, I guess, some things I should still be shocked and want to do something about. I'm going to do the blessings here, and then I'm going to call various people. Here's the little button, you see. Normally, we'd use the tall one to light. It's got to face this way. Normally, I'd use the tall one, you see, to light first this one, and on the second night, this one and that one, the third night, and so forth. And we put the one that's the servitor, that's used to light the others, in an elevated position to remind people that a person who is, he's like the servant leader, that's it. Gee, as the decades pass, there's more and more language for these things. Whoever volunteers is to be respected and praised. So, let's see. Whoever comes up is going to hit the button, and then the light is going to light. Come on, you. First one, and then another, and then a third. And someone tell me what is going on with these, huh? Ideas, folks? I don't know.
Is it plugged in? Do you have a different plug, maybe?
Is it plugged in, folks? Somebody tell me, is this working?
Maybe you need a different plug. Maybe that plug's no good.
Maybe I need to plug it into the other plug because it was working fine a minute ago. I have no idea. Something light? It did? Aha. Good. What's up? Is it happy?
Oh, for heaven's sakes. It was trying to.
That's what we do. And if it's like me, it's going to keep trying and trying and trying. Then it's going to call its friends. Then it's going to go online. Then it's going to call folks from other denominations and say, how do you resolve this? It's true. It's right in the Talmud. There you go. Who is wise? The one who learns from all humanity. So I like to find out. Okay. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Blessed are you, eternal, our source, guiding principle of the cosmos, who has made us holy through your commandments and has commanded us to light the Hanukkah lights. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavosenu bayomim hohem b'hazman hazeh. Blessed are you, eternal, our source, guiding principle of the cosmos, who performed miracles for those of generations past in those days at this time. All right. I am going to, tonight is the fourth night, I am going to call up Pastor Hersey Hammonds to light the second light by hitting the button. I'm going to call Pastor Ruth up to light the third light by hitting the button. Come on around. Who wants to? Let me see. I'm going to call Linda Roth up to light the fourth light by hitting the button. Come on around. You can come around behind here and hit the button. I think you got it.
just doesn't have a very good connection. Okay.
There you
now
go.
should be able to- There it
Thank you.
goes.
Thank you so much for spreading the light. And may it ever be thus. Thank you for coming, Pastor Ruth. Right around the front. That's it. Just a little button. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And it's on the front.
Yeah. Thank you. Tonight's the fourth night.
Absolutely.
Thank you. God bless you. My father was a Reform rabbi. He pointed out the Jewish holidays are somewhat around the solstices and equinoxes, but this holiday is not quite around the winter solstice. What it is, it's around the time of greatest darkness. It's the end of the one lunar month and the beginning of the next, which means there's no moon out there right now on a very short day. Pretty soon, the light comes around. Here's a song. Mahos Tzur Yeshua si lecha noel shabeach tikon beis tefillah si visham todon nesabeach lies tachin matbeach mitzor hamna beach ozeg mur b'shir mizmor chanukas hamizbeach. Here's the song, Refuge, Rock of my salvation, to you it is a delight to give praise. Restore my house of prayer, they're praying for the temple to be restored, so that there I may offer you thanksgiving. They're also talking about parts of the human heart, even when we feel battered and damaged. Please God, restore us so we can fully give praise. When you silence the loud-mouthed foe, that's what it says. Even back then they're writing about bullying. Then will I complete with song and psalm the altar's dedication. Then they give you little cameos of trouble. Trouble sated my soul, my strength was spent with sorrow. They embittered my life with hardship when I was enslaved under Egyptian rule. They're talking about slavery in general. But God, with his great power, brought out his treasured people, while Pharaoh's host and followers sank like a stone into the deep. They're talking about what's literally true, and they're also talking about slavery is not sustainable. It has to end, and God eventually saves us. He brought me to his holy abode, but even there I found no rest. The oppressor came and exiled me because I had served strange gods. Oops, somebody slipped. They thought, well, maybe just once a little bit. You crossed a line. People do. Nobody is perfect. I had drunk poisoned wine. I almost perished. Then Babylon fell. Zerubbabel came. Within 70 years I was saved. Good King Cyrus, let us go home. Okay. The Agagite, they're talking about the book of Esther, son of Hammedatha, sought to cut down the tall fir tree. They're talking about the nation of Israel. But it became a trap to him, and his arrogance was brought to an end. It does say in the Bible, somebody who digs a pit for somebody else to fall into generally ends up falling into it themselves. And his arrogance was brought to an end. You raised the head of the Benjamite, and the enemy's name you blotted out. His many sons and his household you hanged on the gallows. Here it says hanged. I can read the original. It's questionable whether it says impaled. I'm glad I'm in America. Then the Greeks gathered against me. We're talking about the Seleucid Greeks. In the days of the Hasmoneans, that's the Hasmonean dynasty, the Maccabees, they broke down the walls of my towers and defiled all the oils. But from the last remaining flask, a miracle was wrought for your beloved. Therefore the sages ordained these 8 days for song and praise. Now here is the last verse, might have been written later. They're asking God, bear your holy arm and hasten the time of salvation. Take retribution against the evil nation on behalf of your servants, for the hour of deliverance has been too long delayed. There seems no end to the evil days. Thrust the enemy into the darkness of death and establish for us the 7 shepherds. Okay, that's a rather sweet one. All right. What happened to Haneros Halalu? Haneros Halalu anachnu madlikim. Haneros Halalu anachnu madlikim. Al hanisim v'al haniflos v'al hatishuos v'al hamilchamos shel sisolav hoseinu bayamim hayim bazman hazeh al yedei kohanecha hakedoshim. We light these lights because of the miracles and wonders, deliverances and victories you performed for our ancestors in those days at this time through your holy priests. V'chol shemonas yemei Chanukah haneros halalu kodesh kodesh hem v'ein lon reshus lihishtamesh bahem elo lirosam bilvad. Throughout these 8 days of Chanukah, these lights are holy, and we are not permitted to make any other use of them except to look at them. Kedei lahodos ulahalel ishimcha hagadol al nisecha v'al yeshuasecha v'al nifliosecha, that we may give thanks and praise to your great name for your miracles, your wonders, and your deliverances. In other words, I am actually made to sit there and just enjoy. I can't use the lights for mending or getting back to work on the computer. That is a tall order for anybody as driven as me, to be made to not work. It's hard for me to do the Jewish Sabbath too, to stop working because I want to just keep charging ahead. But we have to take time out to pray. People know that, religious, spiritual people all over the world. Native Americans have pointed this out to me. We have to take time out to pray. Our Christian neighbors know that. That's about it. Thank you so much, people. God bless you. Thank you for coming, and please be strengthened. There's a lot going on in the world. And then I open the news, and but people are standing up to it. They're speaking up. I couldn't believe it. And in Congress, they're saying, well, yes or no. Is it okay for people to be saying on campus, let's massacre Jewish people? Well, and the others are giving these evasive answers. Well, yes or no, is it or isn't it? They made the one resign. And it looks like, really. I lived through the late 60s and the 70s, and I remember these civil rights movements, and no, I think it's better now. It has a ways to go, but no, you can't just treat people like that. Online, there's the tape of the first one of these that got taped, and I'm talking about how tough things had gotten, and I thought it seemed so innocent back then. What was I talking about? So I go and I look at it. Oh, they had the Tree of Life massacre. Gotcha. And the next Sunday, I went to Cash Saver. I walked in. Here is the pastor from he's way down on the end. New Macedonia Church. I could see his anointing. I hadn't met the man before, but I could see his anointing. I just burst into tears. And he comforted me, and he said, God is the great comforter. Now we're here, and I'm grateful to know you guys. Thank you so much. Yes?
Would you give an explanation of those tops that you have?
Oh, yes. Yes, they made it illegal to study Torah. Occasionally I've got Christians saying, hey, they just got told that they're going to make it illegal to study Bible. It's like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. But I keep an eye out, and I'd say something. I would. These, see, they're hiding in the caves in case the army comes along, the Roman army comes along and catches them studying Torah. So if they hear the soldiers coming, they've got these little tops, and you spin it, and depending upon what it says, you play it with little filberts or toothpicks or something. Nun means nothing. Gimel is everything. Halb is half, and shin is you put half, nothing. So depending, you've got what's in the kitty here, and you would take half, you would put half, whatever. So in case the soldiers come along, oh, we're not studying sacred text, we're pretending it's a casino. This cave is really Trump Tower, only nobody noticed. Yeah, that's what those, thank you for asking. Nishka, Nun, Gimel, He, Shin, Nes is a miracle, Gadol is big, Haya was there, a great miracle happened there. The other ones in Israel, they say a great miracle happened here. Thank you for asking. Okay, how do we turn this off? They gave us little Hanukkah presents every night. One year we were moving. My father got his PhD at the University of Washington. We moved to Florida, Florida Institute of Technology. And they had every night, my parents of blessed memory, little presents wrapped. Once my father got a half a dollar or a quarter, it's all wrapped. Oh, goody, no, now I can go have a bacchanal.